Tapo has been on a tear lately with their dual camera lineup. But one thing has been missing, and that is a PoE powered option. Well, that has changed with the introduction of the Tapo C575D. I will be going over everything from general specs and setup to all that you can do in the application, as well as a battery of real-world testing, and pointing out the differences when compared to its battery-powered brother, the C575D. I'm Wanderer 001. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. I wanted to start things off by saying that Tapo did reach out to me and provide me with the C575D for the purposes of doing a review. However, they do not get a say into the content of this video. Moving on to general specifications, you are looking at a camera that is 6.34 inches long, including the arm that is affixed and non-removable, to 5.2 inches in height when you have the camera fully extended, with a width across the front here of 3.23 inches. Speaking of our front, we'll take a look at what we have going on between our two lenses. One of the first differences between this camera and its battery-powered brother is you'll notice that the front faceplate is a matte finish as opposed to the shiny finish that we have on its battery brother, and that's partially due to this is a powered solution and does not require a PIR sensor, so there's no need to have that surface texture. As we look at our top camera, our stationary camera, you've got a microphone up here. There is an ambient light sensor, as well as moving to the sides here, we have two 850 nanometer IR lights that have a visibility up to 98 feet. And then we have a set of LED lights that can view up to 65 feet away. Notably missing from the powered version is the red and blue lights that were on the battery-powered version of this camera, which for me, I'm happy to see because I always felt that they were more of a gimmick than actually giving you something usable. As we come up to our camera lens, there is a rubberized gasket around this, helping water stay off of it, but the lip isn't the only thing that helps keep water off. You've got this stylization in the camera housing, and the fact that the camera is adjustable to an extent helps to keep water off of that. As we come to our lens, we are looking at a 1/2.7 CMOS starlight sensor. This is going to allow you to get colored video in low light situations. And I do mean low light. When I was testing this, I actually had to look outside a couple of times to remind myself that it was dark out because I was looking through the camera and it didn't look that dark. Moving on, our resolution. This is a 3840 by 2160, same resolution as the battery powered camera, which is going to give us 4K video from this camera. The field of view is 170 degrees diagonal with 138.1 horizontal and 74.5 vertical. This is a slight difference from the 169.7 diagonal with 140.8 horizontal and 74.7 vertical that we got on the battery powered. It's an interesting change, but not actually that noticeable when comparing the two. The video that you'll get from this is 15 FPS. That's going to be exactly the same as we got on the battery powered version of this camera. Moving down to our PT camera, just like before, we have two 850 nanometer IR lights, which will give me a range of 98 feet visibility, and two LED lights. Again, 65 feet visibility, no red and blue lights. Coming to our camera lens, this is going to have the same specs as our stationary, except that it moves around. This camera is going to give you two separate video feeds, both of which are 4K. If we're looking at a resolution, this is 3840 by 2160, just like it was up here, and just like it was on the battery-powered camera. Field of view, we're looking at 49.6 diagonal, 42.7 horizontal, with a 22.8 vertical. When compared to the battery-powered version, on that we had a 66.5 diagonal, 57.3 horizontal, with a 31.0 vertical. This one you actually kind of notice a little more than the stationary camera when compared to its battery-powered brethren. This is a pan-tilt camera, so we don't just have a field of view to consider, we also have motion range. We have a 338-degree pan coverage with a tilt of 97. I really like this because I can practically see underneath this camera with this PT lens. Frames per second from our video are going to be 15 FPS. And then when we talk about zooming, both of these only support digital zoom, but they both support 18 times digital zoom through the app. So that's going to be pinch to zooming on both the stationary camera and the PT camera to zoom in on things that you want to look at. As we move to the side, we have two adjustable antennas, allowing us to better hone our Wi-Fi connectivity. Speaking of Wi-Fi connectivity, you are looking at both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum. So whether you need farther distance or greater speed, you have both those options. As we come around to the back of our camera, right in the center, there is our speaker. To the panel to the right, if we open that up, that's going to be our reset button. You could see little rubberized weather housing, keeps that all protected. Over to the left, we open that up. We have our micro SD card slot. This camera can support a 512 gigabyte micro SD card for local storage, but the camera also supports Tapo's Central Hub and Tapo Cloud services. As we come to the top of the camera, here we can see our permanently affixed arm. As I take away the mounting arm there, so permanently affixed, it's not going anywhere. Our mounting arm locks in and actually removes itself quite easily compared to some of the other versions of this camera. You have several different mounting options, whether you're doing that to a ceiling, to a wall. There is also the option for a pole mount, but you will require extra peripheral in order to do that. Off the back here, we also have what makes this very different from our battery-powered camera, and that is going to be our power port, which, utilizing the power brick and power cable at 9.5 feet, you will power this device. The other half of this pigtail here is our PoE cable, which is a 100 megabit per second RJ45 port and is also weatherproofed if you don't want to use it. They give you lots of things to make sure that water don't get in there. So even if you're not going to use this as a PoE camera, much like I am, and you're just using it powered, you can make sure that nothing is going to get inside there to wreak havoc on your camera. Speaking of water resistance, this is an IP66 weather rated camera, and I have had this rained on quite a bit in my testing period. This is one of the other areas where it differs from its battery brethren, in that the battery version is only IP65 weather rated. And that's probably due to the battery and this being a powered device. It's easier to make this sealed for higher pressure water. Staying on our environmental track, this has an operating temperature of -22 degrees to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Battery powered version only down to -4 degrees and up to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're actually getting a wider usable range with this compared to the battery. So again, things to consider, and battery is going to be easier to place, but if you really want to make sure that your camera is up and running, power is always the way to go. Because one of the other things that this differs from the battery powered is because it is constantly powered, it gives you true 24/7 recording as opposed to the pseudo clips that the battery powered can do. Don't get me wrong, the battery powered does very well in that aspect, but it's not the same as having a powered solution. Supported voice assistants for this camera are Google Assistant, Amazon's Alexa, and Samsung SmartThings. But now that we've taken a walk around the camera and talked about its general specs, what else do we get with it? Let me show you what comes in the box as well. Power adapter, weatherproof covering for cableage, screws and anchors, mounting sticker, general notice, quick start guide, camera. Now that we've seen everything that we get, this is a smart device. There is going to be a setup process for it. Let me show you how that went. We're gonna start by powering this up. I'm gonna plug this in, get this started. There's a red light there, which will tilt that up. Our lights are on as well. We're gonna open up the Tapo app, let that do its thing. We're gonna select add a device by pressing the plus on the upper right-hand corner and then add device. And notice how I have this upside down. That's because PT cameras always rotate. So now that it's doing its thing, we can see it has located this via Bluetooth. If you can't find it via Bluetooth, you're just gonna search for the name and number of this. So we're gonna cheat and do this, and it is going to pair my Wi-Fi. It says connecting to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi connected. Wi-Fi connected, all right. Sometimes there's a little delay in what this says versus what this will show you. You can name the device. I'm gonna keep it as is, hit next. Where is this going to be located? I'm going to add this to the grouping for my garage, select next. I can pick an icon for this. Yeah, we'll use that one. Next. And configuration's complete. Sounds good. Prompting you for the 180 days of storage. This is Tapo Care. They give you a freebie for a little bit for 30 days. I'm just going to dismiss this. You don't need to use it. You do need to put in a SD card in order for this to record locally. So I'm just going to say I got it. What time would you like this to check for firmware? I've got a lot of Tapo devices, so I'm going to say this one's going to check at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and got it. Smart tracking, do I want to turn that on right away? I'm going to say yes. Same with tap to focus. I'm going to leave that on. All right, before you start, take the device to where you want to mount it to check its signal, test the Wi-Fi signal. So mine is great. We're going to hit next. And then how are you going to mount this? Wall mount, under eaves, pole mount. Pole mount does require other peripherals. We're just going to say wall mount, and then it will actually walk us through how to properly mount this. And notice it is on a timer before it actually allows you to select next. Proper distancing. And then again, it's going to walk you through, note the timer. All right, now we can proceed. Use the sticker template and mounting information. Next, how to drill everything, how to connect our power cable. So there is an O-ring that we're going to have to throw in to make this a little more water resistant. Check preview, which is going to show me that. So we're going to say done. That's my room and it's finished. So that was set up for the C575D. Hardware is only one thing to consider when looking at a smart camera. The other thing is how you interact with the camera in things such as AI detection and notification for people, pets, and vehicles, as well as setting up things like synchronized smart tracking or no-go zones. That's all done through the application. But I want to state, Tapo is one of the few manufacturers that doesn't charge you a monthly subscription fee for their AI smarts in using the app. Consider that while I show you what you can do in the application. Once we open up the Tapo app, you can see it listed here with all my other Tapo devices and cameras. We have a quick toggle to turn on and off privacy mode right from this screen. Once we select our camera, it will open up the live feed. Keep in mind this is a powered device, so the live feed should pop up fairly quickly. Up at the top of the screen, we have the name of our camera, the current bit rate, and then we have our two individual feeds. If I tap on this, it brings up extra items here at the bottom. First is a grid, which I can add other Tapo cameras to so that I can quickly swipe between them. And then I can come back to my actual camera view. To the right of that, we have our video quality. We have 4K 8 megapixel, 720p, and then auto, which will switch between the two depending on Wi-Fi connection, bitrate, things of that nature. To the right of that, we have auto. This will change your video between day mode, night mode, or if left on auto, it will switch between the two automatically. Notice you have these options for both the PT camera and the fixed camera, so you can set them separately if you wish them to act differently. To the right of that, we have our full screen mode. So here we can see it's pulling up my stationary camera as the larger one, and then down here is my PT. I have a little switch icon right there that I can swap between the two if I want, and then some of my other icons get moved around a little bit, but we'll cover them when we're talking about our controls here. Both the cameras do support digital zoom, So here we go. You can see over there on the left, it tells you the actual amount of zooming. So right there, that's 18 times digital zoom. If I come up here, you could see the individual leaves. It's not the greatest when you get that close, but you have the ability to zoom in that far. You can double tap to zoom out. And likewise, if we come over here, I'll use this well as my example for the pinch to zoom. There we go. That's 10x, and there is 18x. Double tap pulls it all the way back out. Coming down, first we have our photo. If I select this, it's going to take a still frame of whatever it happens to see in both videos. To the right of that, we have video recording. This will record in real time whatever is happening in the two video feeds going on right now. Tap on that, stops it, and saves it to our downloads area. To the right of that, we have our microphone record volume. This by default will be all the way up, but if you don't need it that high, you do have some level of adjustability that you can play with there. To the right of that, we have our tap to call. This is going to be our full duplex mode. So if I tap on this, it's going to enable a call, and I can mute my mic, I can unmute it, I can turn the speaker on and off, and here you can see that there is a call timer down there. End call closes things out. If I come back here in the upper right-hand corner here, selecting this gives us the options for camera speaker volume and camera microphone volume. All from that screen, you can play with it while you're actively in a call. To the right of that, we have our PT controls. So if I need to adjust my PT while I'm on a call, I can do that simply by tapping over to this other screen. Notice from here, if I select my options menu in the upper right, this is to change the percent or degree at which the PT camera moves. There are other places to access that as well. Coming down, we have another talk area. If I select this, this is hold to talk. So I need to hold this down. It kind of has a waveform. Just like before, upper right-hand corner, camera speaker and camera microphone, and then our PT controls. And again, over here, the percent at which we wish that degree of change to happen. To the right of our talk, we have our pan tilt controls. As you might imagine, I have been talking about this. We have our PT controls right here. You can move the camera and you could set presets down here. I have one preset. Maybe I want to set that as another preset. I can hit save. If I want to swing that camera all the way around over here and aim it up, there's a warning saying I've gone to the maximum. Go ahead and create another preset. So now I have 3 presets. What I can do is if I tap on a preset, it will swing the camera back around to the location of that preset, as you can see here. Moving over to the right, we have our patrol mode. So we've got a vertical patrol and a horizontal. If I select vertical, what it will do is pan the camera up and down, and similarly horizontal will move the camera left and right. If I select my control option here, it's going to be for our PT correction again. Pano, we have choices of 360, 270, and 180. What happens is if I create a pano, this is going to move the camera head around. First, it's going to initialize, so it's going to check itself, and then it's going to move the camera head around in a pano. It's going to create a stitched image that I will be able to go back to and select something on the image in order to quickly move the camera to that location rather than having to set up predefined points. Now here you can see it is creating this. It's at 28%. We're going to let it do its thing, and then I will show you what it looks like upon completion. So here we go. Here's my pano, and just as I mentioned, if I slide things around, it will move the camera to that location, and I can reset or take a snapshot right from here. And those are our PT controls. Moving over to the right, we have alarm. This does not actually trigger the alarm. This merely enables the alarm to be triggered. You have to set up whether you want that to be people, whether you want that to be pets, vehicles, things of that nature. You can disable it right from here as well. To the right of that, we have our privacy mode. Turning on privacy mode means that you can no longer see anything through the camera. The camera can no longer record anything. You have to turn off privacy mode in order to get your active feeds back up. Coming down, we have our single view. Well, if I don't like the double view, I can simply select our single view, select our double view again to swap between the two. To the right of that, we have our light. Even though this is a plugged-in option, it does give you a default timer of 5 minutes to have the light on. I will insert some actual footage of what it looks like in the dark so you get an idea of, at their maximum brightness, what these LEDs are capable of. To the right of our light, we have our tag on or off. This will put a blue box around people, pets, things of that nature that move through your frame to make them easier to keep track of. There actually was an addition to this camera before I finish this video, and that's right here. This is AI zoom. If you toggle this on or off, what will happen is as something moves through frame, whether that be a person, a pet, or a vehicle, if you have it set up that way, the camera will digitally zoom in on the PT camera without you having to do anything. So this actually is a remarkable add that they did to this camera after the fact in the middle of my testing. To the right of that, we have our Tapo Care. This is a extra service that you don't need in order to actually utilize the camera. It's mostly for cloud services. So here you can see if you want 30 days of cloud storage, here's the current pricing. If we move over to our advanced, you get 180 days instead of the 30. You get a few extras as well. And then if we come over to our advanced, you'll get their AI along with cloud services. Keep in mind, Tapo Care also covers rich notifications. So if you want something more than just a text-based notification, you're going to need to subscribe to Tapo Care. Coming down, we have our playback and downloads. And this is one of the things I want you to pay attention to because this is a double camera. It shrinks it down once it starts running out of real estate. So I don't know if I particularly care for that. I wish Tapo would figure out a way to not have that happen, fold up some of these other options instead. But if we come down to our playback and downloads, right now I have this doing a 24/7 recording. So that's what this light blue right here is. This right here indicates that a person was seen. So if I select on that, it's going to bring me right to that. And here you can see me out there testing the camera before. From this area, if I select these three dots, I can download this event. I can correct this event. Perhaps this wasn't a person, maybe this was a vehicle. I can say vehicle and apply, and it will help the AI get smarter. Now, as I come down, you could see that it notifies people, people, people. I can scrub through the timeline. I can zoom in on the timeline, or I can select date view, which anything that has a blue dot indicates something that I can go back and look at. Coming back up to my recording, I have the ability to change my speed from 1/16 all the way up to 16 times. I can play pause, adjust my volume, take a picture, take a video, clip, which will allow me to clip this individual download, change the view to make it bigger. We have local storage versus cloud storage. Upper right-hand corner, we've got our downloads area. So if I come in here, it's going to show me I've got stuff downloading right there. We're waiting for those to download. This is all my downloaded stuff. If I select the three dots, I can select where I can select all, I can select individuals, and then from here I can share, favorite, download, or delete. We also have the ability to filter. What am I filtering for? Photos, videos, cloud, video summary moments, and it'll help me look through my downloads area much better. From here, if I don't like the double view, if I select the three dots, I can do single view, but you do lose a bit not being able to see both views. Underneath our playback and downloads, we have another area for Tapo Care. You can select the X and get rid of it because you don't need it. You already have it built in right there, and it saves on space. And that has been everything that we can do for the camera controls. Let's move up to our settings. Once we access our settings, at the top here, we have a visual depiction of our camera as well as a name. Selecting device information will open up all the information about the camera, including sensitive information, so I won't be showing you that. Just under that, we have our detection. At the top of this page, we have auto tracking. We can select never track, track specific activity, or track all activities. I like tracking specific activity and then selecting person and pet, and this will allow the camera to track those particular items. We also have detection zones. Currently, I have it set for all, but we could set zones for each individual detection type. So here we have people and pet. I'm going to hit edit, and I can make changes. So we have person, pet, vehicle, and motion, and you could set those all individually, and you can set them for the fixed or the PT lens. So if I was to come into person, I could say maybe over here, I can add a zone. I could add a couple zones, honestly. Come over here, PT, I only care about that. Then I can come over to pet, and I can say all for the fixed and the PT, I only care about that. I can add maybe over here in the corner, or I can delete, or if I come back to my person, I can clear all. There you go. And you do it in landscape mode to make it a little easier to add your zones. Coming down, we have types of detection. You have motion, person, pet, vehicle, line cross, and camera tampering. If I turn on line cross, you have the ability to set this for both cameras. You could set your boundary. So right now I'll use that and leave it, and notice it's in place for both of those. I can move or adjust, and then in the middle there, there's 2 arrows. If I come down here, I can either add more line crosses, I can delete, I can switch the direction. So right now it's either way. Now it's only this way. Now it's this way, and back to both. So you have a lot of options with our line cross. You also have the ability to schedule this. So if you don't want this to happen all the time, you can edit when you'd like the line cross notification detection to be turned on. Coming down to camera tampering, turn that on. You could set it for the PT or the fixed, and you can adjust your sensitivity, and it will notify you if somebody messes with the camera. To the right of our detection, we have alarm. We had a quick toggle for this, but we can turn it on from here. We can adjust whether the alarm type is just sound, just light, or light and sound. We can change our sound types. So our volume for that, our default, which can be siren, emergency, or red alert. We can create a custom sound by clicking here. Tap to record. You have 15 seconds to actually record something to get people to move away, which might not seem like a lot, but as you hear me vamping, you might realize that 15 seconds could be enough to tell people to go away, get off my lawn, blah, 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 blah. There we go. So if I record again, it will allow me to do it. I can press play, which will allow me to hear it. I can save this, or I can just back this off and go back to my default sound. Alarm duration, we have default or custom. So custom, you can do 5 seconds, 10, 30, or a custom range in between. Alarm event type. Hypothetically, if I don't care about motion setting this off, or a pet, maybe a vehicle, line cross, or camera tampering. So now it's just person, vehicle, and camera tampering that would set the alarm off. And then we have an alarm schedule all day, during the day, which is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., during the night, which is 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., or I can create a custom schedule simply by selecting days and times. Coming down, we have pan tilt. Currently, patrol mode is off. In order to turn patrol mode on, you have to add markers, and it's easier if you already had some set up rather than moving things around. Notice in patrol mode, it tells you how long you want to stay at a point before moving on to the next. So add this marker, it'll stay here for 2 minutes and then move on. So now I have 2. I can select this to reorder. Hypothetically, I want that to be the first one. Do that and hit done. And then I can actually turn on patrol mode now. If I want to get rid of either of these, simply select and delete. Select and delete. You can also change the layover time if you wanted to. Pan tilt angle, we've seen this in a couple other places. This will allow you to adjust how quickly the PT camera moves from place to place. And then pan tilt correction will send the camera through all of its motion ranges to make sure that it is calibrated correctly. Dual smart tracking on. Here they give you a little example. It pretty much means if something is seen in the stationary camera, the PT camera will whip over to it to help focus on it and keep it in view. One thing I like about this is I can select the types of things to do this for. In my case, just people and pets. I don't care about vehicles. And then we also have our tracking range, which is continuous, which is it will keep going until it loses sight of it, or fixed, which is, okay, once it gets to a specific point, it will stop tracking. And then another location for our pan tilt correction. We have tap to focus on or off. This is a quick toggle from here, and it kind of gives you an example of what it does. We also have our pan tilt reset, which is after each tap to focus, the PT camera will automatically go back to its original point after 30 seconds, after 60, or off. If you're going to do this, I would recommend turning that on. And then we have our pan tilt correction. And then just to give you an idea of what focus mode actually does, if I select there, you see a little box. It moves the camera over to that location. Down here, same thing. Tap to focus. There we go. And if I leave that alone now, because it will go back in 30 seconds, it'll go back to my original home point. Moving down, we have storage and recording. I have local recording turned on. This is the SD card that I have in here. You can get cloud storage, which I don't know if I particularly care for Tapo trying to make it like my SD card is full, because if we come down here, we have loop recording turned on for this, meaning the oldest videos on here will get overridden. I don't know if I like that, Tapo. feeling like they're pushing me to use cloud storage. Seems a little underhanded. Record schedule. I have continuous recording turned on, but I can also select detection recording or do not record anything if I didn't want to. And then record sound on or off if you live in an area where you're not allowed to record audio. That's how you can turn it off. Video and display. We will start up here with our night mode settings. So we have the ability to change this for our fixed and our PT lens. We have smart mode, which will turn on the LED lights in low light situations when it detects person, pet, or vehicle. We have full color mode, which will just turn the spotlights on and just leave them on all night long. Or we have infrared mode, which will use the IR lights on the camera instead of the LEDs. And like I said, you can set this individually for each of the cameras. Complete customization, you have that ability. Video quality, here we have 4K, 720 or auto, which will switch between the two as mentioned before. We have invert image. So in this case, if you happen to mount this upside down, you can invert your images so that everything will look right side up. Privacy zone. Currently this is off, but when turned on, I can select and create a privacy zone for my PT or my fixed lens camera. If I select a privacy zone, what that will do is that will create a black box in the video feed that I cannot see in the live view or in any recordings. The only problem with this is with the PT camera, if I move it, that black box is fixed in this position. It is not blocking my car. It is just fixed there. So I'd rather that Tapo said, hey, don't do this on your PT camera because the box is going to move around on you. Coming down, we have distortion correction. Honestly, for this particular camera, there's not really any noticeable difference because this camera doesn't have any fisheye distortion auto exposure on or off. I leave this off only because I don't feel that I get quite the video quality that they're saying that you would get from this, but you can do this for persons and pets detection tagging. So that's the blue box. You have the label. So it'll tell you if it's a person or a pet. On-screen display info. You can have display time on or off, display lens icon, display text, so that's going to be like docking bay 3, and display the Tapo logo. Don't necessarily need the lens icon, which is when you're reviewing video footage, it will show you which camera it came from. Just under that, we have display tag on screen. So you've got your speed tag, that's a bit rate, and then you have the live, which is right there. I don't particularly care for the live one, but it's there if you wanted it, which is the important part. Coming down, we have our spotlight brightness. You have 3 being minimum. You could bop that all the way up to 5, and then you could do that for both of the cameras. And then you can change your duration, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, or 30. That button that I said that you could adjust, this is where you would come to do that. We've got our LED status light toggle on or off. We have our Wi-Fi connection. So if we need to change that, that's where we can do it. Privacy mode, this is another area where we can adjust our privacy mode. Here we have notifications on or off. I like this because I can select what I want to be notified of. Right now, just persons or pet, but I can do vehicle, line cross, camera tampering, motion events as well. And then I can set up a schedule, so always or during the day, during the night, or a custom time. And then rich notifications is off because you need Tapo Care in order to get rich notifications. Coming down, we have advanced settings. We have our camera account on or off. This will add an extra layer of security to this individual camera, making it so that you have to have a unique username and password just for the camera. We have network settings. You can turn that on. There's some things that you can play with. If you don't know about network settings, stay out of there. Power line frequency set to auto, but we have 50 hertz or 60 hertz. This will help with flickering that you might get from LED lights. Leaving it on auto should be perfectly fine. UPnP on or off. Don't know what that is. Stay out of there. Voice call mode, you have standard mode or compatibility mode. Compatibility mode will degrade all of your video in order to make sure that your voice actually comes through. And likewise, display settings for hardware acceleration versus compatibility mode. If you absolutely need to see your video, this will downgrade audio and everything else to make sure that your video comes through crystal clear. And then you've got diagnostics on or off. Don't need that unless you run into a problem with your camera. Coming down, we have share this device. I can select share this device, which will allow me to invite others to utilize this camera. They will need to have their own Tapo account and I will need to know their email. Coming down, we have smart actions. This will allow you to set up routines. So if this, then that type routines, Here we have involved, so I can select add a smart thing, or from the recommended, which kind of lets you see if water leak, this happens, if device goes, this happens. I can press the plus sign here and I could select add an automation. And in this automation, effective time, you could select, I want it to always happen when, and I could add a trigger. My camera sees somebody, if clause, if we needed it, then turn on my Tapo basement light. So when this camera sees a pet, turn on my basement light, and then I create it. And it's as simple as that. It is one of the most useful and simplistic ways of setting up smart actions with a camera. User guide, you got a welcome guide and your mounting guide right there. Support center, Tapo offers a lot of things for a user manual, product warranty, camera diagnostics, all from here. Coming down, device health check. You can select what you want and say start a health check. Got to keep the camera powered on while this is going on. And it will run through checking your network, checking your video stream, checking device time calibration, app firmware version, and we will come back when this is all done. Estimated time, 2 minutes. And here is our health check report. So one item to be solved. It's going to be this streaming, I feel, but network is fine, device is fine, build is fine, everything else is fine. So it really doesn't like streaming smoothly. Streaming, it says it failed, and that's probably because it pumps up to the maximum I can do, but I also have a lot of other things on my network. We have our firmware check right here. This will also allow you to update your firmware if you don't have it automatically checking on its own. We can reboot the camera. We can remove the camera from here. And that has been everything that we can do for the Tapo C575D in the Tapo app. With the myriad of things that we can do for this camera out of the way now, we move on to testing. Because this is a powered device, the first test that I like to run is a power test, just to know what kind of power draw this is going to have. Starting off in the day with both the feeds going and just hanging out, it's going to use 3.8 watts of power. During the day while rotating, I saw a maximum of 5 watts of power. IR lights, again, with both cameras and both IR lights on, it used 7.7 watts of power. IR lights with movement was 9 watts of power max. LED lights on for both cameras was 9.3 watts of power, and LED with movement was up to 10.6 watts of power. Keep in mind those movement numbers can vary as they're not going to be all the time because the camera is not going to be always moving. Next, we move on to audio. How do things sound coming from the camera as well as coming from the camera to the application? Let's take a listen.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
Alarm sound test. One other thing that I always like to test with a PT camera is motor or rotational sound that the PT camera makes that you might pick up in either the video or standing next to it. How well did it do? Let's take a listen. Pretty quiet, I can't hear much.
See if you can hear anything as it tracks me. As I come in, squat down, follow me. Oop, it's tracking me. Come on. Look down. Yeah. All right. Come over this way. And we'll stop.
With audio down, we move on to video. First and foremost, I want to say in the upper right-hand corner there, I will have a link to the raw 4K video that this camera produces for both cameras that you can check out for yourself, as the video that you're going to see here is downscaled to 1080 for this video.
sunny out, but yeah, not at break. Again, this will be lower light test. Combo camera. It's still sunny out, but yeah, not at break. Alright, here we go. Sample of the IR lights. Walking around. See the animal. Alright, here we go. Sample of the IR lights. Walking around. See the animal. Alright, here we go. Here's a 2 4 LED lights coming around as it tracks me. Here we go. Here's a 2 4 LED lights coming around as it tracks me. Good job of keeping up. Yeah.
Last test that I like to do when testing a PT camera is to see what happens when two people come into frame. Now, my assistant doesn't like to be in the videos, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. But when two people walk in front of the camera and cross in front of each other, the camera stays locked on to the first person that it sees in frame, whether it's sees on this one or sees on this one. So if this one picks you up first, it's gonna lock on to you. If this one picks it up and you have the synchronized tracking, the PT will whip over to that person and stay locked on to them. Last for my testing is detection speed. This is a permanently powered device. That means it is going to use pixel-based detection rather than a PIR sensor that you would have on a battery camera. How much of a difference does that make? Let's take a look. This will be notification speed test for Tapo C575D on 5G. And it will pick me up pretty much as I cross that corner. That's where I have the PT camera set up for. So once we get here, I'll hit start. And Tapo. 2.43 seconds. Not bad. That's right over there. This will be notification speed test for Tapo C75D. Coming at it from the other side, it's right up over there. So we're gonna come from the stationary camera, see how quickly it swings over and picks me up. Again, 5G. So right about here it should see me, and it's already looking over at me. Might be hard to see. Let's go over here. 1.58 seconds. That's what you expect from a powered camera. Even though there are a lot of good things with this camera, there are a few cons that I want to bring to your attention. First and foremost, tracking could be a little better. I have seen improvement as I've been testing this device from when I first got it, in that it really wouldn't look down at me, especially when I was walking through frame. This has gotten better over time as it has gotten better tracking of smaller animals, things of that nature, while I've had it. Next, even though I know this is a PoE version, I kind of wish that there was just a powered version. Throwing that out there, Tapo, if you're watching. Next, I also noticed for the video adjustments for color, there weren't any of the option sliders that the battery powered camera had. Again, could change in the future with a firmware update, check description. And last, for the cable that you get with it, not the cable that comes attached to the camera. I wish it was a little longer. I do appreciate the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of room in my electrical outlet, especially my outdoor outlet, because it has a weather housing, and I've tested some other cameras that take up the entirety of that, but I wish it was a little longer just to make placement better. But data point for your consideration. Even with the lacking of some of the flagship options that battery-powered version of this camera has, this is still a solid camera for those looking for the reliability of a powered or PoE camera. And some of the shortcomings could be fixed later on, as I said, with a firmware update from Tapo. Because of this, I can strongly recommend the Tapo C575D for those in need of a dual-powered camera setup. If this sounds like the dual pan tilt camera you've been looking for, I will have a link where you can pick one up for yourself in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure this is the right pan tilt camera for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other reviews that I have done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.